Hi, in this video we're going to take you through the new watermark features available in the PDF export settings of Chili Publisher. To start with, I'm just going to take the vector-based corporate logo from Chili Publish. As you can see on screen, it's fully opaque as a solid red. If we were to put this on top of images or text, you wouldn't be able to see what's beneath. So in its simplistic form, all we're going to do first of all is actually take the Illustrator file and change its opacity to a nominal 30%, making it translucent. We're going to save that as a PDF. And I'll save it within my watermarks folder. Now that's a very simple scenario, obviously allowing the underlying imagery to show through. However, I'm just going to go through a slightly more comprehensive demo of making this slightly better from a corporate point of view. Obviously some marketing departments might not like you abusing their logo in this way, but obviously we need to give you choice of how you can utilize the system. So focusing primarily on the color swatch that we've got for the Chili Publish corporate colors, I'm actually going to create a gradient. So I'll create a brand new gradient fill, and what I'd like to do is populate that with the color swatch for both the start and end of the gradient. So in essence, it's still a solid band. Within that band, we're actually going to put in some extra markers. And you can space these out evenly, do whatever you like with the solution. And what I'm going to do here is change the opacity down at these nominal stop points, giving us the effect of a more metallic look and feel. Now of course it's applied all of those vignettes and stripes and gradients throughout each individual item separately. So we're just going to unify that with the gradient tool, and I'm going to apply that across the entire logo at an angle to give us this stripy, consistent look. One more time, I'm just going to change the overall opacity of the whole item, reducing that down in this case to 50%. I will save as Chili Publish logo grad.pdf, and we'll have that version that we can upload into the back office in a moment. Once more, just saving it as a PDF. However, if we were going to use Photoshop, it allows us to do a lot more creative effects with the actual artwork. So switching to Photoshop, I'm going to still use the same starting point, the Chili Publish logo, but we're going to rasterize that from being the vector-based artwork into a bitmap. So you can select your width, height, and resolution. Consider first of all that the resolution doesn't need to be that high res because this is a watermark after all. So I'm just going to select 150 dpi. So here is our logo, which is rasterized. I'm then going to crop that because I don't wish to use the text in this particular instance, I just would like the icon. So there is our logo, and as you can see it fits nicely within the frame. However, for the purpose that I have in mind, I would like to extend the actual overall canvas area. So just going up to the menus, under the image, down to canvas size, we can now specify a new width and height for that artwork. So I'm going to change that to 9 centimeters square, keeping my artwork dead center. You can see the extra area has been added around the Chili icon. The reason for doing that is the next item that I'm going to be applying. We're actually going to apply an effect onto that layer. But I want to keep this icon as a safe copy. So working on a duplicate of that layer, simply drag layer 1 onto the new layer icon. We get a clone of that. I can now just hide off layer 1 temporarily. Of course we can rename these layers if we so wish. But using the effects panel, I would like to put in a bevel and emboss. And I'm just going to change the size and parameters of the bevel But first of all, working from the top of the screen, we're going to select the outer bevel. And because we've got space around our artwork now, because we've increased the canvas size, we should have a room enough to accommodate this effect. Change the size of the offsets, maybe change the softening and some spread, etc. Change the highlight colour and opacity, and the same with the shadow colour. I tend to knock the shadow colour back to about 50% because I personally think that 75% is just a bit too intrusive for the shadow area. Click OK, and there is our drop shadow and our highlight bevel area. Now again, once more, I don't want the solid red to be appearing, not as intense as it is at the moment. So I would like to mask that item. Now unfortunately, Photoshop has it's a feature of Photoshop, but when we mask things, the layers are also, or layer effects are also retained. So I'm going to neutralize that layer effect. Now, of course, we can do various things. I find the quickest route is just simply add a new layer, select both of the layers that we would like, the new blank layer and the layer with the effect, and simply go Command E on the Mac to merge those two active layers. As you can see, they're merged to layer 2. The effect item has now been removed from it as an effect, but it's definitely applied onto the artwork. And the reason for doing that is I'm going to now select the active pixels on layer 1, and the shortcut for doing that is if you use again the command and click on layer 1, you'll actually see you get the active pixels selected, and I can then apply a layer mask to that artwork, but I'm just going to invert the pixels, so selecting the layer mask of layer 2 and invert as a quick shortcut. So I now only have the outer glow with the highlight and the shadow area. I would though like to still have some rendition of the red icon, and I'm going to change that down to 30%. So just simply clicking 3 on the keyboard, it will change it to 30%, or 2 is 20%, etc. So it's jump steps of 10%, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the keyboard will quickly change that for you. So leave it at 30%. Again, once more we need to save this as a PDF. So I'm going to call that a Chili Publish icon, and I'll save that into my Watermarks folder. So we now have a simple vector, a vector including gradients with all the opacity built in, and also this now enhanced bitmap version from Photoshop. So I'm going to switch over to the Chili back office, and as I said, these are assets, so they need to be uploaded onto the system. We add a folder, and inside those folders we're going to put in our watermark items. Now we can add individual items browsing and uploading one by one, or for a quicker solution we can actually quickly compress or zip up the watermarks directory, obviously with the 3 files that we want to upload. And if I now add new, it allows me still to browse, but if I select a zip file, Chili is intelligent enough to recognize it's a zip via the extension and unzip that on the server. So rather than uploading 3 individual artworks or assets, I can upload one zip file containing those 3 elements. There's a subfolder based on the zip name, and here are the 3 artworks that we just created. So for the purpose of the demonstration now, I'm going to use the recruitment ad, which as you know is both portrait and square in orientation. So we want to make sure that our logos or our watermarks will also fit both portrait, square and even landscape orientations. So to do that, I'm going to go to the PDF export settings. I'm going to select the vector watermark that I've pre-created here, using whatever PDF export parameters you wish to, but purely focusing for now on the security tab. So we have previously had the text-based solution, and with text we can type in a watermark. But we had no choice of its positioning, font, colour or opacity. By utilising the PDF assets, we have a lot more control because we can create that to look as great or as simple using InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, your application of choice. So on the vector-based watermark, I'm going to choose either the plain Illustrator file or the one with the gradients. And I think for this purpose we will go through and actually select the grad version. So we will select that, and you'll see it brings up the path of the asset, the name of the asset. We can tell it how we would like to control the anchoring of that item. So currently it's centered and proportional, so it's going to always scale or reduce the asset down to fit the artwork. But again, you have full control, just like any other image frame, of how you would like it placed. So I would save that one, so it's a vector watermark. And whilst I'm in the back office, I'll do the same with the bitmap watermark as well. And this time, selecting the bitmap file. So let's get the icon, and we'll select that. Again, anchoring that center using the proportional effect. And I will now save those two PDF settings in the back office. Switching to our recruitment ad, we then have the vector-based watermark, and I can generate a PDF based on the fact it's going to center the logo within that panel at the opacity defined by the asset itself. So if we generate pages, server side it's rendering that file, making the PDF, downloading, and then we'll view that inside Acrobat. And there's the Chili Publish, and as you can see, if I scroll down, there's the effect being translucent with all that gradient fill applied. Well, let's go back and change that. First of all, change the orientation of our document to being the square file, and go into our Output tab, or potentially using the buttons that are available inside the workspace to generate a PDF, in this case of the bitmap watermark. Now this might normally take a few seconds longer because of course it's doing different rendering based on the bitmap information rather than the vector information. Let's launch that file, and there you can see hopefully the icon with the outer glow, drop shadow, but the base colour being semi-opaque. And that concludes this quick demonstration of the new features of PDF Watermark available in Chili Publish 3.1.01.